So this is my regular notebook. This is generally where I sketch. This was my last
Daddy,
previous sketches.
Daddy, yeah,
But not today. What we are going to do today
Daddy,
will mainly focus on the basics.
Daddy,
So you just need an eraser and a pencil.
Daddy,
That's all you're gonna need. You can have a regular eraser if that's what you want, and any HB, 2B, 4B pencil. I have a Derwent Precision pencil. I'm going to use this one for today's class. So anyways, we're going to focus mainly on the very basics. So I don't think it's going to be a trouble, whatever pencil you have. So we'll try to understand how drawing shapes fits into sketching, right? So sketching, as you know, is perhaps the most basic skill you can pick up as an artist. So that's where we're going to begin. What you can do is, what you should not do is plant your hand here and draw lines like this. See, this is an absolute no. You cannot be drawing lines like this. So what you need to do instead is keep your elbow free. Don't plant your hand. See, if these are small strokes you can do with planting your hands, but that's a different play altogether. But when you're drawing longer lines, can you see the visible difference? Okay, that didn't work. Again, these are not perfect, but with practice it improves. I know a lot of people don't want to listen to that line, but that's true. Okay, moving on to circles. For circles, there are two techniques. This is what you should not do. See, you'll notice these are not perfect circles. Instead, the one technique which I rely on is based on strokes. So we start with this. We don't go in one go, instead we make strokes, smaller strokes. And it corrects itself as it goes. So this is a bit intuition based, but this develops the more you use it. You can see this is a far better circle than this. The size can be adjusted. Let's say you're drawing a smaller circle, so you can adjust the size of your arcs. And since it's based on arcs, it really doesn't have one single line. Instead, it's kind of the average of all the lines, all the strokes which you have drawn. Right. So this is the technique which I use personally. The other one talks about is similar to what we have done here. So you don't plant your hand, instead okay, again this is pretty close, right? Again, I'm not good at this. I'm good at this. This is what I use, the strokes technique. In fact, as we move on the course, you'll see I use the techniques of strokes in most of the things, even in straight lines. In fact, I think I should talk about this as well. So when I'm drawing a straight line using strokes, it looks something like this. See, you can see the visible difference in these three techniques. This is not a line, you would say, right? It's a combination of strokes. But when I'm going over to the next level, when I'm adding shadows and midtones and highlights in my sketch, or when I'm using paints, so I have a clear visible line. My eyes are able to see that this is a straight line, this is a proper circle. But and even though the line is an average, the final line is an average of all the strokes. When you're using the paint, when you're already in your medium, you'll be able to differentiate between these two. Rather, this is very absolute. You have very limited room to play around with. So when I have this or this, I would rather not do this. I would do this. This is my way of doing it. Same for this. This. Not this. This is still okay. This is still doable. Absolute. This is an absolute no. This is what I do. This works if, again, you're used to it. But this is what I do. Moving on, now once you have a good control over your sketching, your straight lines, I think we can move on and start drawing squares and rectangles, you know, in 2D basic shapes. So let's see how we are going to do it. This is what you should not do. Right. So you can see there are minor curvatures when you're drawing this. So it can be worse in your case. It could be even more wobbly, the lines. It depends. So instead, what I would suggest is, I'm not going to show 3 techniques this time. Instead, I'll stick to 2. I'll show what I do.
Daddy, I don't want to.
Can you see the visible difference? Now, let's say you want to correct this. You're not happy, so you can keep adding more strokes to it till it becomes perfect. See, now I can see if I had followed this path instead of this, there's a very minor difference, but there's a little bump here, right? So I can avoid that when I'm going to the next step. Same for the corners. Maybe if I feel they look a bit curved, I can improve it. But this is very absolute. I cannot improve it in any way. Same for triangles. See, this looks perfect, right? Pretty perfect. Again, I was able to draw pretty good straight lines in this case, but in your case it could be a bit wobbly, you know. This is what most beginners end up with. So instead of this, can you see? Now this is the extra part. I can remove it.